So, in my observation over the years, how people tend to interact with food really often just comes out in conversations that we have. Most often, if someone finds out that I am a registered dietitian and nutritionist, sometimes they'll immediately apologize for what their lunch looks like, or they'll start to tell me they were eating healthy, but today they're not eating as healthy. And I think it brings to light that there's such a emotional response to food. There's such a often judgment feeling when we talk about food, and that has really opened my eyes and how I teach people about health and wellness and nutrition, where I definitely want to encourage people to eat healthy, nutritious foods to fuel their body, but it has to be in balance with a healthy mindset around food. And really often what we work on first is any kind of dieting mindset or dieting culture or any type of negative relationship that someone might have with food, which is definitely present in our culture. So I think this is where there's this really delicate balance when we talk about the presence of our environment and how it impacts our food choices. That's really where trying to balance that dieting mindset and maybe the cultural impact that people around you have had when it comes to thinking about food and nutrition comes then with our actual environment and food choices. So where this gets to be a delicate balance is that we need to work on developing a healthy mindset around food, which includes the thought pattern of I can eat anything I want because I'm in charge versus I'm a bad person if I eat such and such food. In my coaching, I do try to help people veer away from the all or nothing thought pattern when it comes to food and nutrition, because that all or nothing thought pattern is often associated, number one, with the dieting mindset. I'm allowed to eat this, or I'm not allowed to eat this, or it's on my diet, or it's not on my diet. Another tool I use with my clients is to take away that word diet, because when I started asking people what they hear when they hear the word diet, they hear suffering. So we reframe our mindset, but we also reframe our language, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak about what we're doing. So when it comes to getting away from that all or nothing mindset, it really does help sometimes to just have some basic education about food and nutrition. Just a good example is I tend to teach low carbohydrate nutrition all the time. I've seen people be incredibly successful with low carbohydrate nutrition and see some dramatic results with weight loss as well as with type 2 diabetes remission. However, the difference when doing it with a coach or a nutrition coach is that I'm also not afraid of carbohydrates in general. I know from the basics of nutrition that there are some super valuable, highly nutritious carbohydrate foods that give you vitamins and minerals. And a good example would be fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts and seeds. These all contain carbohydrates, but they're all incredibly healthy for you. So some of my favorite conversations I get to have with my clients are talking to them about why the health benefits of tomatoes, onions, and carrots, because they get flagged as these high carb, bad for you foods, and they're really not at all bad for you. And so just going back and having the support to say, it's okay, it's allowed. Here's how we're going to structure your nutrition to support healthy nutrition, to support a healthy mindset, and to get away from that dieting culture, dieting mindset, all or nothing. I'm allowed or I'm not allowed. So it comes both to our mindset, but then also just to learning about foods and what they can do and how to use them and when to use them in a nutrition plan. So I think sometimes it's helpful to know how I even got into this. And truly, my mom was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes my freshman year in college. So I knew nothing about what I wanted to do with my life. And right at that time, when I was ready to make a career choice, my mom was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And truly, I came home, I remember at Thanksgiving that year for the holidays, and she had seen a dietitian and her blood sugars had dramatically improved because she was aware of her food choices and was actively really engaged in taking care of her health. And I believe she'd even lost about 50 pounds in a relatively short time frame. So it was such an impactful thing for me to see how much one or two visits with a healthcare professional really impacted her life and was impacting our family. That ended up driving us to do things like a turkey trot every year on Thanksgiving. We would do a 5-mile walk every Thanksgiving morning for 10 years. And so diabetes deeply impacts my family and my family history. But what is really interesting is that right in that beginning journey for my mom, these medications called GLP-1 medications, which are now today known as the weight loss injections, came out in, I think it was like 2006 or 7. So as a dietitian who specializes in type 2 diabetes, when the GLP-1 medications came on the market, I remember thinking how hugely important and impactful they were going to be for people with diabetes, because they helped bring blood sugars down in a way that capitalized on how our body actually worked naturally. And then they had this beautiful side effect of helping people to feel full. And we knew that in people with diabetes, they didn't have as much fullness. And so having that kind of double effect of bringing blood sugars down and also helping people to feel full, it was a win. And so I recall when they first came on the market that they were going to be a game changer for people with diabetes. And it's unfortunately taken a long time for people to get access to these medications, but they really do help with appetite. I immediately said to my mom, I think you really need to get on these medications. I think they're going to be really helpful for you. And so ever since 2006 or 7, she has actually been able to use these medications. And I think they've been incredibly helpful for her over time. So now we're actually seeing these GLP-1 medications, or as commonly people are referring to them as the weight loss injections, we're seeing them being marketed to people without type 2 diabetes for weight loss. And they are incredibly helpful and they're getting really good results. Sometimes we see something like 20% weight loss, which is what we typically see with weight loss surgery. So if you can get the help of appetite help while you're on your weight loss journey without having to have surgery, I think it's such an opportunity to help people who are living with type 2 diabetes get off their medications and put type 2 diabetes into remission. And again, these medications have been around for a long time. So for almost 20 years, I've been working with these weight loss injections. Now, they were at the time for diabetes, they were much less easy to use and they weren't once a week. And certainly the side effect profile has gotten better over time. We're now currently giving them for the weight loss doses. We're giving them at a little higher dose than we've given before. We do have to be a little bit careful with side effects. And I think that's why it's so important to work with somebody who has awareness of what these medications do and how they work, and then how to adjust your nutrition accordingly. But they can be incredibly helpful for appetite. I'm very lucky that I was working in a clinical setting where it was a medical weight management clinic, and we used a lot of different appetite suppressants. Unfortunately, these GLP-1s were not typically covered by insurance. So while we would prescribe them, they weren't often covered. Now we're starting to see a little bit of coverage for them. And what I saw in a medical weight loss clinic is that when people's appetite was controlled, often we could take them off almost all of their medications and their blood pressure came down, their cholesterol came down, their diabetes went away. The potential for type 2 diabetes remission is here, and we can do it with nutrition. We can do it with the help of medications. And we've known for years that we can put type 2 diabetes in remission with weight loss surgery, but not everyone is interested in weight loss surgery. So having access to these weight loss injections for more people, I think is really going to be so helpful for anybody who is on a weight loss journey and who has struggled maybe to be able to continue to see weight loss in the past, who definitely maybe appetite was a problem for them. The GLP-1 medications not only help you with giving you access to use your own insulin better, which helps lower blood sugar, but they also help to provide an increase in fullness or a decrease in appetite after eating. And so that really was a game changer for helping people with diabetes as well as helping people who are interested in weight loss.